Well, first up this morning, we've said before and again, food is love around here. And for this week's Hot Topics, we went with a foodie theme. Instagram food stars and cookbook authors Linda Miller Nicholson and Lauren Coe to join today's panel, along with New Day executive producer Joseph Suttner. Food is love at New Day. And I wanted to see what dishes for you represented love.
I think pasta as a representation of love is awesome, but it also sort of tied into family history for me because my grandparents are the ones who taught me to make pasta for the first time. To me, love connection and that of sort of like ancestry and your history, have that fantastic memory, you know, every year when I maybe get a little depressed about Valentine's Day rolling around, it's like, well, I have the deeper family love in my heart.
And by the way, when she says her grandparents taught her to make pasta, she means literally make the actual pasta, not just mixing it up with the sauce. Okay, Lauren.
For me personally, my partner and I used to go to the drive-in to celebrate Valentine's when we lived in Southern California, and that was a thing. And we would go and stock up on seafood and fish tacos to take with us. So to me, tacos feels very emblematic of Valentine's Day. It's a fun, easy, delicious food.
Well, I would say, love. I love to learn how to make new kinds of food. And since I started at New Day like 5 years ago, I've met so many amazing foodies that, are in our area, but none too more impressive than Linda and Lauren. And I knew nothing about making pasta or pies. But since, meeting these two people that are fabulous, I've learned so much from their cookbooks. I've made pies, I've made pasta at home now. So I would say, I love learning about new food.
We had so much fun together when we first met. I feel like after our first segment together, I feel like we cracked open the wine.
All right, so wine, something that might go good with wine. How about Oreo cookies? And these ones I'm about to tell you about are Lady Gaga Oreo cookies. Joseph, I'm going to need you to show us a visual.
Okay, well, I'm not a big cookie fan, but I am a big Lady Gaga fan. So I think when I found out that she was going to have Oreos, obviously I had to get them. It's like a delicious, little cookie here.
How cute!
And it doesn't taste like a normal Oreo. It tastes like maybe vanilla Oreo, but I just see people all over Twitter dying to find these. They're always sold out. One of our other producers tried to go get us some more, and they were sold out. So.
I'm not sure about the green frosting. Lauren, you are kind of the expert in the confectionery category here.
Similar to Linda, we both use kind of natural coloring. In pastry or in pie, a lot of these natural colorings that I use, green for spinach, beet for red, those flavors don't come through. So it's really fun to be able to add color to something that's technically that is savory to a dessert and not have it factor into the flavor profile at all.
Yeah, I noticed that these cookies, I love the fact that the message behind them was to sort of spread, joy and equality and kindness. I think that's awesome. I wish that Oreo had made a big donation. I think just in light of everything going on politically over the last year, it would have been really cool if there had been just one kind of full circle, let's get a charity component in there. That to me was kind of the only thing missing.
That's a good point, because otherwise it's just a cookie, right? All right, moving on to our next topic. You probably have never had this, but I am no stranger to the cooking fail. So my grandma used to make this Jell-O mold. A friend of mine sold me a Tupperware Jell-O mold, so I tried. Jell-O is not easy, okay? It is not easy. Have you ever had a cooking fail? I can't imagine.
All the time.
Of course, everybody does, right? Yeah, absolutely.
You could never be successful, I think, if you didn't have the failures. I maybe screwed up one of the biggest things to have happened in the last year, though. I make a lot of portraits out of pasta. And so I made Ruth Bader Ginsburg out of pasta. Well, she passed away 2 weeks after I made it. Since then, I haven't made anybody else's face out of pasta.
I'm not going to ask you to make mine, but I
think we can unjinx it.
I think we can unjinx it. All right, Lauren, what about your cooking fails?
Oh my gosh, there are so many. Early on in my pie making journey, I decided to make a fancy looking pie to bring to Thanksgiving. It turns out I completely underbaked it. I didn't know at the time. So we transported this pie The Marionberry filling bled all over the back seat, looked like a complete crime scene. We get to my in-laws' house, and this was a small, like, Asian family Thanksgiving, so it's the only dessert available. I tried to stick it back in the oven and maybe toast it back up and hope that it would bake. It didn't work, and then my in-laws were just way too nice and insisted on eating the pie, and I just had to sit at the table mortified that they were eating this completely raw, disgusting pie.
Oh, that makes me want to hug you.
Thank you. It was very traumatic. But again, as Linda said, sometimes you learn some of your best lessons from mistakes or fails. So couldn't live without them either.
Yeah. I set a pan on fire the other day. Joseph?
Well, since working at New Day with all these amazing food people, I've learned a lot about cooking, but the one I get made fun of the most for was when I got my first apartment right out of college. I was like broke, like first TV job. So I like didn't know how to make anything. I was making a frozen pizza and somehow I managed to screw this up. My kitchen had a carpet at the time. Don't know why.
No.
And somehow
Ooh.
in the portion of it being finished to getting it out of the oven, it ended up face down on the carpet. And people still make fun of me for that till this day.
Okay, and Lauren said, you know, the spirit of that pizza is still in the carpet. So we're going to have more with our panel later in the show talking about our most favorite controversial foods. Welcome back. As promised, our Foodie Hot Topics panel is back with Linda, Lauren, and producer Joseph.
Do you have a favorite recipe that you can make from memory, and what is it?
It's my grandmother's recipe for flan. Just this really delicious, smooth caramel custard. It tastes delicious and it's super simple.
I've been really into making dumplings like for the past several years.
Yes.
And I made like 150 last week of all like different kinds. Meant to freeze some of them at the end, but ended up just like eating all of them. So,
Yeah.
you know, dumplings for sure for me.
Mine is cacio e pepe, and so cacio just means cheese and pepe means pepper, which I think, you know, you could really relate that back to love. Like, you can't explain why two people love each other, you know, all of a sudden it can just be this like amazing synergy that happens just as a result of, you know, a simple connection. And for me, you know, and for this whole segment, it all sort of relates back to food, and cacio e pepe is absolutely that dish for me.
I love that. I feel that. All right. Hopefully one of these nights, you know, after drinking wine, we can have that pasta together. Yes. All right. Are there any fans of Spam? What is your favorite controversial food?
For some reason, everybody hates anchovies, and I don't understand it, because anchovies are actually in everything that's delicious. I think it's one of those things that people don't realize it, but then they're like, but Caesar salad is my favorite salad dressing. The one you like the most has like 15 anchovies in it.
That is exactly what I was going to say, anchovies. And it's because I had never had them before that I knew of. And then one time we had Ethan Stoll on the show, and I'd mentioned to his PR person that he has this broccoli dish that I'm like obsessed with that I always get. And I asked if I could have the recipe. And she said, sure. And it had anchovies in it. And I'm like, what? Anchovies and broccoli? But, you know, you fry up the anchovy paste with some chilies and some oil and then add the broccoli and sear it. And it is so good. Highly recommend that dish.
Sounds delicious. I am an unapologetic proponent of pineapple on pizza.
Yes.
I love it. Our standard household order is pepperoni and pineapple, but always pineapple.
I can get behind that. You guys are going to give me a hard time for this. So I love artichokes, right? That's not my controversial food. But you know how you dip artichokes in mayo and it gets that like really good taste? What I found out when I was pregnant with my first is that if you put mayonnaise on broccoli, it's like the same kind of flavor tones without having to steam an artichoke.
So you do it with the broccoli instead.
It's like an ice cream cone, broccoli and mayonnaise.
I've actually done the broccoli and mayo thing before. I think growing up, my mom served it like that occasionally. So it doesn't seem that far out to me. I mean, I like it.
Yeah, see? Thank you.
Or maybe liking mayo is also a controversial thing.
All right, so don't knock it till you try it. Just saying. Other controversial foods like cilantro, Brussels sprouts, just know what yours is.